Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the stream. I may sound a little bit different because I've moved my microphone to a better place so that I can do this puzzle. Unfortunately, my table's not quite big enough. But anyways, welcome to the stream. I might have a bit of an echo, and yet again, I do apologize. So, the layout for this episode is going to be, we're going to do a little bit of a weekly roundup, as per usual. And then we'll head into the chosen puzzle solving section of the evening, which may take some time. So in regards with the channel, over the last week, some of you may have noticed there was a change in the videos that were released. This would be because I had a little bit of the flu. I was sitting my chest, throat, I had a scratchy throat for a couple of days. So I pulled back on the whole recording thing just to allow for my throat to heal a bit. And then over the last couple of days I pushed production back up to normal just to get things back up and then catch up everything that I'd missed. So going forward from a couple of days ago, we should be back to the way we were. Other than that, no series ended this week. No series are going to end in the next week. Let me just check. The next series to end will be Mega World Chronicles, which will be in 2 weeks' time. So keep an eye out for the next series after that. The vote will be given to the Patreons soon enough, so that they can choose what the next series is going to be. And then after that, we've got another 3-4 weeks before Fork This Life gets replaced. And until then, we'll keep slugging along with our one-shots from HFY. As well as the series The Fourth Wave. I lost my chat. Right. So now that's it. Not much happening in the chapter world. I'm not going to be talking about the flu that shall not be named for various reasons. The main one being most people are probably quite tired of it by now. And I'm quite tired of it by now. So we're going to do something a little bit different. I don't think there are too many live streams of people building puzzles. I did promise an answer to the backstory of where this puzzle and why this puzzle exists. So we'll get into it. Now, there may not necessarily be quite as much talking in this chat or stream as normal. I am trying to still keep my voice a little bit chilled so I don't stress it out again. And then, yeah. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat. If I see them, I will answer them. As for super chats and stream labs and all of that, I should see them and answer them if they're there. If not, then they're not. Okay, so let me just click some buttons. Right, look, we got hands and a cup of coffee. And a mouse. And a screen. So, that's pretty much all the things you need in life. Possibly a couple other things, but meh. So a bit of backstory with this puzzle, or puzzles in general. When I was young, there wasn't a lot on TV, so what my mother or parents used to do is they used to buy a puzzle, and then we'd put it onto a big table in the living room. And over a week or the month, everybody would sit around and build the puzzle, a bit here and a bit there, until the puzzle was complete. And it was sort of like a family get-together, family thing. So, I mean, the puzzles have a bit of nostalgia factor for me. You know, a bit of childhood. So, you know, in my adulthood, whenever I came across a puzzle that I liked, or liked the look of, I'd buy it. And I had a couple puzzles, but this particular one is not my puzzle, it's my wife's puzzle. Now, about 18 months ago, I gave all my puzzles away because, like most people, I had a bunch of puzzles that I hadn't solved, and the usual thing, you know, when I get time, I'll do the puzzles. When I get time, I'll do it, and then next week, or the week after. I just need a bit of time and all that. And after a while, it was like, okay, I've got these puzzles, I'm not solving them. I had a friend who liked puzzles, so I gave them the puzzles, said, hey, here's the puzzles. do with them what you're gonna get enjoy them out. They're just sitting here, not doing anything. So yeah. But this one, we were in a shop and my wife saw this puzzle and she likes Van Gogh. Now, I'm just gonna tilt it a bit. Okay. So I mean, I know that the picture's a bit small and the camera's not that great because I didn't really have a setup for this, so I had to duct tape it all together, which is where we are now. Hello, Unlikely Ryan. How are you this evening? So, my wife bought this puzzle because she liked Van Gogh. It's never been built, yet again, falling into that when we get some time, we will do it, and it just never happens. This just keeps being postponed and all of that. Now, the reason why this is relevant is for the last 6 months, this has been sitting underneath my screen to raise it up a bit. Not here, because this isn't my normal recording base. So I had it underneath the screen just to raise up the screen about this much. So I've been staring at this puzzle for 6-8 months, every day. Every time I record, I'm staring at this puzzle. And every time I'm like, you know, maybe I should actually solve this puzzle at some point. Maybe, maybe not. So when I caught this flu and it was sitting in my throat, I didn't really want to do a lot of talking in a stream, but I still wanted to do a stream with you guys. So I decided, well, I'll give you guys the option, and this is on my mind, so it's like, oh, maybe I'll put it in there as a laugh. Maybe you guys want to see me build a puzzle, or attempt to build a puzzle. And to my surprise, this is what we chose. So this is a Riccardi, Italian publisher since 1808, 2000 piece panorama of Vincent van Gogh sunflowers. Let's try to get this so you can see the picture. So it's just a standard Victor van Gogh painting, but in puzzle form. It is quite a large puzzle. It's 1.5 meters by half meter. Now, if you see my screen, you've got this little thingy over here, and this little. So that's just markers I can see where the edge of my camera is. And then there's this one, so I can see where the middle of my camera is. But this puzzle is going to be longer than the screen. And not just as wide as this screen. And yeah, so you guys chose this. And if you guys enjoy the stream, which is going to be a pretty long stream, I think. Especially if I don't have to talk for the entire time. It makes it a little bit easier on me to stream. It's also a bit earlier for me. 2 weeks ago, when I did the first weekly stream, I pulled a bit out of it because it was 12 o'clock at night for me. And I just changed my sleeping schedule recently, so I was still trying to get used to it. Now I'm a bit more used to the later sleeping schedule, which is more in line with the American side of things. And yeah, so I mean, this one we should be able to do a good couple hours, and it's a bit earlier. So I've got my coffee, I've got my Red Bull, you know, just in case of emergencies. We've got some Red Bull, and I've got some snacks over here. Got a nice table, and we can get to go, and we can have a chat. I mean, this is basically just going to be me talking while building a puzzle, which is going to be a first for me. Doing both at the same time is not going to be the easiest thing. If you see this moving in the way, this is my microphone. And I do apologize, there is no pop filter on the microphone because it's a big round thing that sits in front of me. Normally it's okay because all I need to do is see the screen, but in this case I need to actually see the table as well. I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah. And also the other thing with, I'm going to stop building the puzzle so long while I talk, which is kind of the way it should be going rather than me just talking or building the puzzle. Should be trying to do both at the same time. Now, I'm obviously looking down over here. I'm going to try keep an eye on the chat, but if I do miss something, please forgive me. I'll try to get around to it when I look up. Okay, so as I was saying, 2 weeks ago, when I did stream, I did a live read, which I used to do all the time back in the day. It's the way I started. About a year ago, I started doing live reads on streams because I thought it would be funny and fun and enjoyable. The problem is you don't get a... I'm from South Africa. My parents are British. I'm a first generation South African. Hence the accent still a bit thick to me. Also, with regards to the setup, I'm kind of in a hallway here. It's not a hallway, but there will be people walking behind me, and I might hear a walking sound or a stomping sound behind me. And like I said, this was a bit late minute. Also, with the lockdown at the moment, I can't go to a hardware store. They're all closed, so I can't really do anything to make do with what I had. Where was I? Oh yes, the stream from 2 weeks ago. So I did a live read again, but live reads, people fall back into the habit that they previously had, which is me reading a story like an audiobook. So they tune out, they move around, they go do other things and have it playing in the background, which is fine with the normal audiobook, but I'm kind of doing this stream as an interaction with you guys and me. It's a bit of a change from the normal audiobooks. And I think with many people currently sitting in a lockdown, it helps just to not have to be locked up and, you know, have somebody to talk to or have somebody to interact with, which is my opinion. I mean, one of the things I did think of was, like, you know, a couple of years ago when I was living by myself, and in this quarantine period I would have been driven up the wall just because I wouldn't have had anybody to interact with. And I know there are quite a lot of YouTubers at the moment that are doing extra content, extra streams, which I plan to do as well. I plan to stream a bit more and all of that, just to, you know, give something to you guys to do in the evenings or mornings or whatever it may be for you. And then I immediately caught the flu. A flu, not the flu. You have to be careful, can't just say the flu anymore, because it's the flu with a capital T. And if you have any critiques of my puzzle building abilities, let me know as well. I'm not a specialist puzzle builder. I haven't actually built a puzzle in many years. I'm just a guy building a puzzle. And hello Harold, and how are we doing this evening? If the stream does well, then I'll definitely get another puzzle, although I highly doubt that I'm going to finish this entire puzzle in one stream. I would be impressed if I did. It would be a pretty long stream if I finish it in one go. Or a pretty small puzzle. Funny thing though, just randomly, when I decided that I was going to put this up as an option for a stream, I've never played cribbage. So I googled jigsaw puzzle, just, you know, see what the videos are doing in Jigsaw World. And the number one jigsaw puzzle is a 10-piece puzzle with 52 million views. And it was a kid's puzzle, 10-piece kid's puzzle with that many views. I'm like, wow. Obviously the algorithm really liked that particular puzzle. And then I think the top 10 puzzles were all kids puzzles with over 10 million views, which is really weird. I think it goes back to that thing where you had content creators targeting kids, very young kids, more so that they would get stuck in a sort of loop of watching kids content, and you could rack up millions of views for very little content. Oh, we had an escapee. Give me one moment. Caught it. Okay, so yeah, I know this isn't going to be a majorly exciting. We're not going to be doing anything spectacular. Poker could be cool. I'm sure there is a multiplayer poker game with no real money, other than, you know, the normal gambling sites. The problem with poker is it can also break up friendships, which is why, you know, these trying times, you don't want to do things like play poker, you don't want to play Monopoly either. Those have been known to destroy lives. And that's when you could go outside to get away from people. Okay, so normally, for me, and I think most people, you separate out the border pieces first and then work on the border and the internal section. Just to make life easy too, because these ones are the easier pieces to figure out, he said. And now, I know these pieces look very tiny from the camera. My camera is actually, I had to keep rising it up higher and higher, just to try and get in as much of the table as possible, and it's more than 2 meters in the air at the moment. If you want me to turn the background music up or down, just let me know. I do have some playing there, in case I'm not talking at that particular point in time. And also, without the pop filter, I might pop with my P's and B's. So I do apologize for that as well. Anyway, getting back. Evening, homeschool. How you doing? I do have my, just hold on. I did. I also have the Discord open. But preferably, I prefer you guys to chat in the YouTube chat, because it helps the analytics. Also, I should be able to respond a bit better this week, because I've got the latency set a bit lower than the last time. Because the last time I think it was sitting at 30 seconds to a minute between me saying something and the chat reacting. It was quite a long period of time, which makes it difficult to chat with the chat, really. And it is an acquired skill. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting through all of this in one evening, but hey, it gives us something to do next week. Or maybe even a midweek stream. We'll see how things go. In the poll for this, somebody asked me to do a stream about voice acting and my rigs and setup and all of that. I mean, you guys must feel free to ask any questions you want. If I see them, I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. Hello, Beto. How are you this evening? Well, there we go. There's a corner. We were talking about a corner. There's 1. And 2. I'll worry once we get to 5 corners. Then we may have a problem. But until then, ooh. 3-hit combo right out the gate. Now, if I could stop dropping them on the floor, that would help. just putting this box on my lap. He said, just hold on a second. Yep. Now I should just be able to flick them off. That's ridiculously uncomfortable. Need to yoga pose that one. I suppose I'm actually doing this a bit of a stupid way. I'm turning them all over to see if it's a flat piece. I don't need to turn them over at this point. I just need to check to make sure that there is a flat piece. It is my pleasure. I'm glad that you enjoy it. That is the main thing for me, it's that people enjoy the stuff that I do. Hey, if the stream does well enough, we can work up to the 18 or 40,000 piece puzzle. That'll take me, I don't know, 3-4 years to finish. I need a team of my squirrel brethren to help me with that one. I need to stop doing that. Keep stopping and turning over the pieces to look that there's a flat side. I don't need to see the colors to make sure that there's a flat side. I'm glad you enjoy it. You can thank Combat Wombat for that one. He introduced me to HFY. Rope with another 3-hit combo right out the gate. Makes my life easier. Oh, what's this? 4. You see that? Exciting stuff. 4 pieces in one go. Ow, and another 3 out the gate. I wonder if they sold me a second-hand puzzle that somebody else bought before, because quite a lot of two-joint pieces. And also, some of the puzzles, they come with all pieces in a plastic container. This one didn't have that. So I don't know whether we attempted to pull this one. I don't remember ever doing it. But if you don't remember doing a puzzle, it's still a new puzzle. We're trying to stay safe as we can. And there's a limit to what you're allowed to do and what you can do with what you've got. I mean, at this point, I think we're at day 8, day 9 of our lockdown. It's a bit rough when anything that's deemed non-essential is closed, so hardware store is closed, even though theoretically it could be essential. Well, what can you do? And you guys must all also stay safe and keep yours and your evening, Sapphire. You know, do your best to keep safe. In these times, a new time. I mean, a year ago, I don't think anybody would have predicted this. And I don't think the world is going to be the same after. Good or bad, I don't know. But bad normally eventually leads to good. You just need to suffer through it. So, just keep you guys, must keep yourselves safe. And obviously, watch my stuff. Again, repeatedly, on loop. Because, that'll keep you safe. Oh, we got a double here. Oddly enough, there's a lot of yellow and orange happening in this sunflower thing. Oh, it's weird, I know. Another double. We're having a good run with pre-done pieces. Now it would be awesome if I just open up the lid and there's an entire completed puzzle there. Night, Quantum. Have good sleep, and see you tomorrow. And thank you for coming past and saying hello. It is very much appreciated. Oh, what is this? This is a big piece. Look at that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 whole section. Like I said earlier, this is definitely going to be a bit of a longer stream than the previous one. I might have to take breaks and so on, but if I'm not talking as much, it should be easier to do. Although concentrating on doing 2 things at once is also unique. I have to sit here and talk to myself like a madman. Just mumbling to myself whatever's popping into my head. Because if there isn't enough audio coming through the YouTube algorithm. Well, about 2 years ago, really, I was getting into a lot of the web stories and Zanzia and Wanzia and all of that stuff. And Wuxia and all of that. But I used to like playing some stuff in the background while I played games, but I could never find any narration of the stories that I wanted to listen to. The only ones I could find were like creepypasta stories or true horror stories, which were fine. They were okay. So I'd have to not play my games and then specifically read a story. And I always thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was somebody or somewhere that did narrations of it? And the only ones I could find were text-to-speech guys, which I personally don't like. There's something just slightly off-putting with the text-to-speech stuff. So, eventually, my business failed, and I had to try and figure out what I wanted to do next. And I thought back to, maybe I should try to do the narrations, because in school I used to read out. The teacher used to use me specifically to read stories in class because I could, one of the few people in the class that could read out loud decently. So well, then give it a try. And I did. I mean, the first attempts weren't that great. I didn't have a particularly great microphone. I was actually using the microphone on my gamer headset. And then I also started out with the live reading because I thought that would be interesting, because then you can read and discuss it at the same time. But that ended up being a bit too rough to do every night. 4 hours of reading, solid. It was wrecking my voice, seriously, for that first month. Then it sort of evened out. But with my country, with all the load shedding and the internet intermittency, I decided any story that you enjoy while you're playing a game is nice. It's also why I don't really do anything with the visual side of the videos. It's specifically so that you can have it in the background. But anyway, so I was talking to some guys, because I actually started on web novel stuff. And somebody pointed out, I might run into copyright issues. I was like, I'd rather not run into copyright issues. So after some searching, I found some places where they didn't have copyrighted stuff, and that's when I started doing the Royal Road. And then after a month of doing that, somebody recommended HFY to me, so I went and had a look, and it was stuff that I enjoyed, sci-fi, and decided, well, I'll do that as well. The nice thing with the HFY stuff is that it's either a short series or a once-off. So even if, I'm not 100% behind a story, I can plow through it for one story. If that makes sense. And it's easy enough to get through. I don't have to deal with the story for 6 months. Whereas Royal Road, I have to be a bit more discerning on the stories that I read, because I'm going to be reading them for a long time. So, there has been a slow progression. And where we go from here, I don't know. Like most things, we change with times. We see what works, we see what doesn't, and we try and figure out the best way to do things. Now, I also know that this is a very niche market, so I'm never going to be a massive YouTube channel or anything like that. It's my pleasure. And I actually have started enjoying the narration quite a bit. There were a lot of problems to get over in the beginnings, things I had to work on. Like, I used to speak very fast. I still do to a degree. So I had to work to slow myself down when I spoke. An old habit, racing to the end of a thing, trying to speak as fast as I read, which is quite different. Although, funny enough, now when I read just like a normal book, I read slower. Because I speak slow. And then at random points when I'm researching a book or something, I'll just oh, that's an interesting word, and I'll try to say it out loud. My wife looks at me like I've gone insane. And to... when I get a chance, things like last week or so I've been playing Judgment Apocalypse, which is an oldish sort of simulation turn-based RPG survival game. I like the what's it? Let me just check my list to get the correct names. Yeah, so a RimWorld is another one. Factorio I enjoy. Really does depend on the mood that I'm in. I've got a couple lined up for Royal Road. I've got permission. Because, that's the big thing. Even if there's a story that I do enjoy and I would like to do, I need to get permission before I can do it. And there is some that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but haven't got permission for doing for one reason or another. It's difficult to say. I mean, you gotta remember that at this point I think I've done 400 different posts on HFY, so that's about 250 one-shots. So I mean, they do kind of blur together a bit. Series-wise, I really enjoyed Billy Bob's Space Trucker. That was quite funny. I like the sort of lighter humor. Getting back to the Royal Road one, so yeah, my process for Royal Road is slightly different than HFY. Because it was HFY, because it's a short run or a once-off, I don't tend to read it before I do it. Once I'm confident that the author writes something that I would read, then I don't pre-read stuff. Oh look, got a third corner. But with Royal Road, what happens is I'll look at a book and I'll find a potential one. And then I'll go and I'll read the potential one up to about a third of the way through. And then it's like, okay, I enjoy this, I like where it's going, I like the humor, or I like the story, or writing, or whatever. And then I'll go to the author and say, listen, do you mind if I do it? Some people say yes, some people say no, some people don't say anything. So, I mean, there are some that I wanted to do, but wasn't given permission. But for ones that I have been given permission, I've got, I think, 5 stories sitting in the queue for Royal Road. I'm just looking. So 1, 2, 3, 4 stories currently sitting in the queue for Royal Road. Next week probably I'll open up the voting for my Patreons to which one's going to be the next one. Good evening, Alpha Wolf. So yeah, one of the options for my Patreons is they get to vote. Oh look, that's a good one. We've got a corner and 2. Yeah, my $5 Patreons get access to voting for the next series. So I give them the choice and then they choose which one's the next one. But yet again, it's only ones that I already have permission for. So there are plenty of stories that I've read up to like a third or even the whole story and have not given permission. I'm doing okay, and you, Wolf? Hope the world is treating you okay? It's my pleasure. And dragon, it's a dragon. It's a dragon head. That's the tattoo. A oriental dragon rather than a western dragon. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. It's kind of like you fall into this methodology of just sort of zoning out and then doing pieces. Which is enjoyable in its own way. I think most of the enjoyment of the puzzle is not necessarily sorting out the pieces. It's when you find 2 pieces that fit together, you get that little dopamine hit. So we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. I think that's about half the pieces sorted. Ooh, look at that one. Nice big one. So yes. Anyway, getting back way back. This isn't my normal puzzle. I like the fantasy or sci-fi type puzzles. This is one that my wife bought. So in the future, if I do this again, I'll do it with a different puzzle with a themed. Although one of my other thoughts was breaking this up and having it as a background in my videos for those that want to watch puzzle building. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It is one of those stories. I'm not normally one who puts overly too much into ratings, because some of the best movies that I've watched have been given the worst ratings. But when you're looking for a story, you have to start somewhere. And for some reason, that story is not that highly rated, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And a lot of people enjoyed Chrysalis as well. So, a very similar thing with the reincarnation as a non-typical object or creature, and a very light-hearted sort of response to it. May not be believable, but you know, enjoyment is enjoyment, whether it's a good story or a bad story, or you know, the grammar is slightly off or whatever. The only thing that I've noticed is only released about one chapter a month, so we're going to catch up quite quickly. But that's fine. I mean, with all the stories, if you enjoy them, I always encourage going to the relevant place and telling the author that you enjoy the work. Because I just write, I don't write the stories. Without good stories, my narration would be worth nothing, really. All the technology in the world, live streaming puzzle building, never thought that would be a thing. But, you know, live and learn, live and learn. Nobody expected selfies to be a thing either. Maybe we'll start a trend. Well, I've found with web novels, especially on Royal Road, you need to give it, I don't know, about 20 play chapters before they settle in. And the reason I say that is most authors on Royal Road, I'm not saying this is what Chrysalis did or anybody, but I've noticed this is a thing. They'll pre-write a bunch of chapters, and then they'll release like one chapter a day for a while. And that gets them up into the trending, I think it's called. After 30 days, if you release a chapter a day, you'll be in trending. So people pre-write that 30 chapters, and they spend a lot of time building that 30 chapters or whatever. So the first couple chapters are always a bit, trying to find their stride. So I tend to give it at least 30 chapters before I look at it. I mean, now actually I wait until there's at least 600 or 700 pages, Roy Road pages, before I look at a story. Because that gives me a month's worth of content, but it also means that an author has fallen into a routine, and then you can also kind of get a better idea of where they're going, what they're doing, if they're just going to suddenly change something or not, which happens in a couple stories. I mean, there's also been some that I've looked at and read the first couple chapters and went like, yeah, no, that doesn't look great. And then somebody recommends it to me again sometime later, and I'm like, okay, fine, let me go give it a good try. And then it turns out to be a decent story. But there's just so much content there that you can't feasibly go through every single bit of writing. And you never know what you might enjoy. Although I will admit, if you exclude harem and romance from the list, it gives you a very different list to follow. Because I don't generally do romance or harem stories. These things happen. I mean, that's a risk that I and everybody takes when reading a story. You don't know where a story is going to go or what an author is going to do for whatever reason, whatever they choose to do. Sometimes they think it's a good idea, or sometimes they get bullied into it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, take Randomly Ghost Hunt. I enjoyed the beginning part, but by the time I think it was 450 came around, I got a bit bored of it, and I think most people did. So, I mean, I will maybe finish it at some point, but it just got so long that I just couldn't. Good evening, Atten, and how are we this evening? And this is like the third stream, so you're sitting at 33%, which is not a bad percentage. Third stream, second stream, yeah, something like that. And I'm excluding all my original streams. Doing okay. 1 week down of lockdown, and 2 more to go. So, doing as best as we can. I'm just glad that the internet connection is back to stream worthy, so that I can do this. Because apparently, just as the flu hit me last week, a week and a bit ago, the international cable coming to my country was damaged, so all the internet traffic was slowed down significantly. So I couldn't even have streamed if I wanted to. But that seems to be rectified. And here we are. We're almost through the first sorting process. I'm going to do some building of the border, and then go through the second process of sorting. Lots of sorting. But there's something zen-like by sorting through, like finding a needle in a haystack. And that's another concern that I need to focus on. I mean, things like the New World and even some parts of Randomly Ghost Town. When I started, I didn't really mind them being a bit on the risky side with the swearing and stuff. But now that's demonetization for me. And I would prefer not get demonetized. Yeah, I can tell you when the next one's going to come out. Because I normally batch the chapters, so I record the chapter as it gets released. And then I'll batch it into whatever the number is, of which the New World is 3 chapters, I think. And yeah, 1 more chapter, and we'll have a video for the New World whenever that drops. 2 days after that chapter drops, there should be a video. But if you really want the content as soon as I record it, some of my Patreons have access to the moment I record it. I upload it for them. And I know it's shameless of me plugging my Patreon, but yeah, everything I do eventually becomes free for everybody. So if you choose to support Patreon, then that's great. If not, that's great as well. As long as you guys enjoy it, watch the videos, have a like, subscribe, all that gunk. Because YouTube likes all that stuff. Now, I mean, with the Patreon, before my flu, they were 2 days ahead of everybody else on some things, and then a couple weeks on some other stuff. I've seen Rise of the Night Stalkers on the lists, but I haven't read it. I'm glad, Anton. There's a couple guys that either don't have time to read or are unable to read for various reasons. And I'm glad that this helps you. There was somebody else who did that. They wrote the first book and then they deleted it when they put it up onto Amazon or something. Which, as far as I know, Amazon doesn't have exclusivity clauses. Ah. Mm-hmm. I know a fair amount of people release their stuff on Patreon, Amazon as well. And there aren't exclusivity stuff, but I know some of the audio stuff is exclusive. Who was it? Which story was it? Vanquish, the dragon one, whatever the dragon story was called, has made a deal, I think. It's going to be a audiobook. But that tends to be exclusive stuff. But written content like books don't tend to be all exclusive, especially on Amazon. There's a couple that have audiobooks. It's one of the reasons why I haven't asked for The Wandering Inn. Because, like I said, there's normally an exclusivity deal. Mother of Learning's got 5-6 people doing audiobooks. And not to be too boastful or anything, but there's only one person that's read the whole thing except for the last chapter, which is on my list to record. I may not be the best, but I try to be the most prolific. a bit sick, but I'm also not sitting in my normal posture. I've changed the settings a bit for the live stream because I'm not sitting in my sound booth / tent / fort. So fiddled with the settings so there's a little bit less background noise, which could also be a reason why I'm coming through is a bit deeper. Also, I'm not trying to project my voice as much like I am when I'm reading. And the mic is also a lot closer to my mouth because I tend to turn the volume down on a live stream and put the mic closer to my mouth just to drown out a bit more of the surrounding noise. Especially with this room, it's very echoey. Ooh, we got a 5? No, it's a 5 piece. And that's also why this stream will probably sound different than the last stream I did, because the last stream was done in my audio, well, my desk, my normal working desk, which has got a sound fork built around it. I say that like it's a complicated thing, but it's not. It's a frame with blankets and crap over the top to try to dampen the noise. Very fancy stuff. I think a lot of people are doing. I personally think there is a lot of market for the narration of web stories, serialized stories, even stories on one-shots. I think there is a market for it. Problem is, it is not easy in the fact that you can't approach it in the same way you would an ordinary audiobook, because for any of the Royal Road stories, they never end. So you have to decide whether you're only going to do a couple of them or you're going to do all of them and give up to date. So you don't have nearly as much time for each chapter as you would if you were doing a pre-written book. But I mean, we'll see. I'm happy with the way my channel's performing. Obviously, if it would perform better, I wouldn't complain, but it is doing a lot better than what I thought it would have. So it definitely shows there is a market for it. I can understand if you're writing a story that nobody's reading, and you might want to try something different, and you're not having any response to the story that you're doing, then try something different. There's no problem with that. But I'd prefer if an author sort of put an ending to a story rather than just dropping it. That's quite abrupt. I mean, I will admit, with like a Mother of Learning, I was very concerned with how he was going to end the story, and I'm actually quite happy with what he's done with it, how he ended it. But from what I can gather, it was always, that was how it was going to end. It wasn't a rush ending, it was pre-planned from the beginning with, you know, minor changes here and there. I've never really liked those sorts of questions. Like, well, I like all sorts of things, and it depends on my mood. I very much enjoyed Mother of Learning. I could not stop reading it when I read it. And then also Chrysalis, which are the first two that I did. Very surprising to me, the quality, especially with the Mother of Learning. It seems, when they have a bit of a plan, they seem to meander a lot less. I've noticed that authors that don't really have a pre-plan, they tend to meander a lot more than ones that, have a vague overstructure of what they want. One hour in and we haven't even finished sorting out the border. But I got nowhere to be. I also, tend to like light-hearted stories, the humor. But, I mean, humor is very subjective. There's some stories that call themselves humor, and I don't really find them funny. I find that they tell me that they're funny more than actually being funny. Well, there's a Grunt. How you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Are you doing good? Well. And yes, liking the video would be very much appreciated. Lots of particulate on the bottom here from the cardboard. Okay, that looks like we're good to go. Stretching a bit, I'm gonna get something to drink, and then we can start with the board. Now I'm thinking I'm going to do the bottom as this side and the top as this side, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I mean, doing a story with a lot of action and wish fulfillment. I don't have a problem with stories like that. It's just, you always want the character to grow. You want them to do something or become something. Especially after several hundred chapters. It's a good story. I like it. It's light-hearted, has some dark themes, but, yet again, dark themes aren't a problem if they're handled in the right way. Okay. And here's the problem. I remember finding 3 corners. Oh, there's the 4th one. Okay, we've got all 4 corners. We're good. Yeah, many years ago. But it wasn't true D&D. What do they call it? D20. Which was a more freeform thing back then. I did some D&D campaigns and Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that. Well, that was many, many years ago. Okay, so we got a... Have a look at the picture. Figure out what I'm gonna do. It's amazing how quickly you forget how big a 2,000 piece puzzle is. Okay, so got yellow bottom, blue top. Okay, so these are all bottom. It's a dragon head. And that sounds like an interesting anime. Okay, for those of you wondering, this is the center of the screen, so it's just so that I can see the center. Okay, so I think we're going to start with the bottom section. That should be the easiest, he said. With confidence, mind you. So that one should be... We should have 2 corners. That... on the bottom there. It should be about that far apart. Ooh, we got one. It's still, I mean, the afterward rather than the epilogue. The epilogue, yeah. It's on my to-do list. I was going to do it last week, but I got hit with the flu. It's just such a ridiculously long chapter that I need to carve out quite a bit of time to do it. I think it's going to be like an hour-and-a-half video by itself. So within the next week, I'm planning on trying to do it. It's just finding enough carved out time. Sundays and Mondays tend to be days that I have a bit more time, so I'll try doing it tomorrow, and then the next day, and then hopefully release it next week. I'll take a recommendation, but if you recommend it, I'll go read it and see if I like it, and then go try to get permission. So I don't guarantee that I'll be able to do anything. I did. I read the first couple of chapters, and then I don't know. The game of picking the normal object that's the sky is not understanding what it is got a bit bold for me. Not saying that it's bad, it just didn't resonate for me. Obviously, it does for a lot of people, but so I think I got up like chapter 10 on that one, and then got a bit frustrated with that round object that goes into the feet, which is kind of oval and overlaps and, describing a normal object. Which can be funny, but it was like with every single object, so I'm a bit old. No, it fits. If it doesn't, I'll make it fit. What's making this a little bit difficult, you can't quite see it on the screen, is there's quite a bit of glare on the pieces, so I can't see variation color too well. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, it was. And it was actually just like the day after I recorded it, the one shot that it appeared on Royal Road. I'm like, okay. That's good. I mean, I'm liking that some of the authors are transitioning over between the two platforms. I personally think that, I mean, if you've got a good story, you just put it on as many platforms as you can. That way more people will see it. I mean, I know Chrysalis is on a metric crap ton of platforms. And some people just don't know that HFY exists or that Royal Road exists. They only know web novel just because of the SOE on it and the advertising. Extending that corner, we've got up to 3 pieces. I know, this is exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Oh, now we're up to 4. Can we continue this? The full series is Anton, with BBSTs on my playlists. Already done it. This is one of the first HFY series I did. I did both Billy Bob Space Trucker and Creature 88 from Regal. I think Billy Bob was the first series I did from HFY, if I remember correctly. It should also have its own dedicated playlist. Well, I mean, if you can show a publisher that there is a market for your book, then they're more than happy to do it. The trick is convincing them that there's a market for your book. And I think that also publishers that can see the future, you know, that go to these places. I mean, what's that? 50 Shades of Grey was from an online site. So there is potential there. It's just finding it. Not that I'm saying that 50 Shades was a great book, or that I've read it. I'll have a look. I mean, there are lots of new series that I've put on my watch list, and I just wait for until they get about 600 pages in, and then I'll give it a read. That way, you're less likely to have a book disappear once you've reached that sort of page count, but it also gives me about a month's worth of content. Because I can only physically maintain a certain amount of series at any given time. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick break. I will be right back. Okay, back. And yes, that was punishing. Yeah, so I've got a different chair, I've changed the angle, so hopefully the glare is a bit less. He says. But this chair does kind of wreck my back. Good to see you, Red. How are you doing? That's good to hear. This is where you find out that you've got half a puzzle. Or at least you convince yourself that you have half a puzzle. And this is also where you can see that I'm not like a professional puzzle builder, just a guy. Sitting here cheerfully with my headphones on with nothing playing except background music, which is getting old. For me. That's weird. Just having a look-see. Oh, I'm getting Cloudflare error, yeah. Maybe they're being DDoSed or something. Evening H, how you doing? I'm doing okay, thanks. Cheerfully building my puzzle. While people watch me. There's absolutely nothing weird about that. it's glare coming off the camera because of the light, as far as I can figure out. This is an old camera that I found lying around. It's probably a 10-year-old web camera. I had to do all of this with less than the most optimal stuff. I had to build from what I had lying around. Just give me a second to see if I can improve this a bit. Let's see if that helps any. It seems to be a bit better. What do you guys think? Oh, I'm not quite that tall. Oh, that should be a bit better for everyone. Well, just guys let me know. Because the weird thing is on one screen it looks fine, on the other screen it looks hazy. I think that's partly also because of the camera. This side seems to be a bit blurry over here. And then closer to the wall seems to be a bit blurry, so I don't know whether that's because of the camera or because of the light. Well, I can't complain about Royal Road going down. Royal Road goes down and my view account goes up. Okay, just give me a sec. We could give the lens a bit of a clean. Looks a bit better. Unfortunately, I had to put the camera so high that I had to get in a chair to clean the lens. I don't think it's the lighting because I've got a tube light for the length, so it should be quite a consistent light from left to right. I think it's the camera, personally. And then being in lockdown, I couldn't even go get a new camera even if I wanted to. Agro Squirrel is kind of a joke. It was... I don't know whether you've ever seen the movie Up from many years ago. And the dog, whenever they got distracted, they would say squirrel. So me and my friends, that became a sort of synonym for an ADD moment, was to squirrel, you know, a verb. So Agro Squirrel was an aggressive ADD person, which was what I was at some time. So that's how the Agro Squirrel came about. Easily distracted, but also slightly aggressive. Just throw a shiny coin on the floor and I should be fine. And originally it was actually two of us, and we were going to have like a talk show, but that was many years ago. And that kind of fell through, and then I just reused the account. No, I'm kind of used to the name. I like it. You know, the other irony is the squirrel part is misspelled, but that was an ADD moment when I was setting up the email account. So then I just like, I misspelled it, we'll just roll with it. What else can you do? It also sort of accentuates the point of being an Agro Squirrel. Just halfway through saying something, you just go, yeah, forget it. I also find it funny that if you Google Agro Squirrel, you get Foamy the Squirrel, which I used to love watching on Newgrounds. If I eat tacos, I might kill an alien race. And I don't want to kill an alien race. So if you were expecting a fast puzzle solve, this isn't it. But it's a nice chat and there's some background stuff happening, which is the main point why I did this. Not setting any speed records. so if that's got blue in it, that means it must be that way. Which means it should be somewhere over here. Methinks. Well, it's entertaining. And then you get angry and then you just break the puzzle and you start up again. It's been raining the whole day here for us. Been less than pleasant. Especially since it's that autumn rain, so it's cold as well. Well, relative to us, or for us. Doesn't sound pleasant. I'm not seeing any announcements on the Discord server. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's happening. I'm sure they're just having a fantastic day like everyone else. Although, this piece here, you can't see it, there's a little blue speck up here, which might be this piece over here. I actually quite enjoy the legendary Moonlight Sculptor. Now all my viewers are going to run away back to Royal Road. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Yeah, this definitely doesn't help with my back. Can't slouch like this. Not that slouching is good. How does it remind you of the Deadpool movie? Ah, okay. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I need to watch it again at some point. Isn't that one completed already? Post-human? It was a surprise hit. I mean, I enjoyed the comic and I was really apprehensive about the first movie, but when it came out, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Especially that opening scene, that set the whole movie for me. Oh, look, we have a cat. It's one of the free songs from YouTube. We've got a destroyer of puzzles on the way. It saw puzzle pieces on a table. Must destroy. Must destroy. Knock stuff onto floor. Must destroy. I can cause chaos, therefore I must destroy. I swear, if the cat takes a dump in the box, I'm gonna laugh and cry at the same time. Yes, yes. There is something I can interrupt, therefore I am going to interrupt it. Cat? Yes, yes. There's a floor. Go play on the floor. Go annoy the dog. Or something. Okay. So now that we've had the cheerleader, we can go back to... All cats are jerks. The level of jerkiness of a cat is related to the cat, but they're all jerks. Full stop. Nothing you can say can convince me otherwise. Would you look at that? We've got a nice corner piece going now. Such action-packed streaming. I can't see why this form of streaming hasn't taken on. I mean, it's thrilling. Each piece. Cheering crowd. Cats galore. What more could you ask for? Yeah, she might not be a jerk to you, but she's definitely a jerk to someone. Well, have fun. Thank you for popping past. It is much appreciated. Well, I mean, they're very, very different stories, but they're both enjoyable in their both own ways. Oh, look at that, look at that. We've got something going on over here. Got 2 corners on the right-hand side. That's good. Just give me 1 second, I'll be right back. There we go, back. Yeah. So sitting in this position is wrecking my back / hip, which is usual because they're not happy at the best of times. But the way I'm sitting, trying to stare around the microphone, I'm not sitting in a normal, natural position. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and finish this bottom section of this yellow, and then finish up the stream. And then I think going forward, I'll record myself finishing, well, moving on with the puzzle, because then I can still sit in a more natural position when I do that. And then I'll add it as a background into next week's videos. I know some people watch the... it gives people something to watch while they listen to the video. Or not. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. This is definitely going to take way too long for a single stream. I mean, it's been 2 hours, and I haven't even finished the bottom yet. And I mean, the other thing I can do is, in the videos, record it and then speed it up a bit so that there isn't quite as much of a lull. So there isn't as much waiting around. But like I said, trying to talk around the microphone and the way I'm sitting is just not conducive to my back being happy. But then my back is never happy. Or 1.25 or 1.5. Obviously it depends. A 2000 piece puzzle takes quite a while to finish. No, because it's one of the free ones from Google. I've just slowed it down a bit. I mean, you don't want it too overpowering as background music. I was just... You too. I think I'm actually going to end the stream here. I think I'm missing some pieces, so I'm going to have to go scratch through the box again. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream there. That's 2.5 hours. Unfortunately, my back isn't entirely happy. So what I'm going to do is... I will record. Unfortunately, it's going to be with the same camera. Me solving the puzzle. And I will add it in as a background into some of the videos this week. Thanks for joining. It is very much appreciated. You too, homeschool. Alright, I'll see you all next week for another stream. I don't know whether it will be another puzzle stream or whatever, but we'll shall decide at the time. And I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you then.